Hi, and welcome to another Dex from the Graphic Design School. My name is Leanne, and today we're going to be creating an animated GIF. We'll be working in Photoshop and working with layers. This is the image we'll be using. We're going to do something for the World Cup and do a promotion for an event in a bar where they'll be screening the World Cup live. So this is what we were inspired by. An email that came through from Adidas to promote their products. So you can see it uses a foreground image, background image that move in opposite directions, and it just gives the illusion of speed. So this is what we're working towards, using that image that I just showed you. So we will have a background image and the foreground image moving in opposite directions. But because the image that I've got here from iStock, and I'll give you the reference number for that in the brief, is one image. And it works really well. We love the background and the soccer player. So what I'm going to do is work towards separating the player and the ball from the background, and then filling in the bits that that his body is now covering in the background, and then we're going to create frames and create an animated GIF. So to begin with, I've already created the layer that has got my type and logo. So you can add your logo for your event and whatever type is relevant. I'm going to just switch that off for now because I'm going to focus on just creating that player and ball separate from the background. So I have my background layer over here. I'm just going to copy it at the bottom so I get a background copy. I'm going to use my quick selection tool and start to select my player and hold down Shift as you move across the player. I might zoom in a little bit. I'm just going to do a quick selection, and then we can go in and look at some more detail. Selection. Hold down your option to deselect areas. I can see it's already selected some areas there that I don't want. Get a little bit of the pants in there, the arm. You can see it's selected some of the stadium there. We'll go in and deselect some of that. But as I say, we'll go into select and mask in a moment, and then we can get our selection working better. Okay, I'll just do a little bit more of the face, holding down Shift as I move so that it just adds the selection to the existing selection. And just zoom in a little bit. Hold down Shift and just add this arm. Bit of the face. I just like to have kind of most of it done, even if it's a little bit rough, before I go into select and mask, so that I don't miss anything. And then I'm just going to select the ball too, and then we'll go into select and mask just to refine my selection before copying the ball and the player to a new layer. Haha. Okay, let's just go select a mask, and then we can have a look at what we've got. There we go. So we can subtract and add to this mask over here. So there's my addition. So you can see the plus, and that'll expand my selection, and there I can subtract my selection. So if I want to add, I can just go like this and add to my selection. You can increase your brush size over here, and if I want to subtract, I can either click over there or again just hold down my option and I can subtract like that. Add over here. You can just go into the hand. just smooth out some of these details here. And you can take down your opacity over here if you want to see if there are any bits that you're missing and it's hard to see with the selection on. Again, just hold down Option if you want to switch from adding to your selection to subtracting from your selection. Just smoothing out these details here. And just going around the whole body and just checking that you have anything, subtract bits that you don't need. There we go. Once you're happy with your selection, I'm just going to press OK. And now I have it selected in my background. To take it out of that background and add a new layer, I'm just, with it selected still, I'm just going to go Command J, and you'll see there I have it as a separate layer. Now I'm going to work towards just taking away the player of this background that I have here. I'm just going to select the player and the ball as I had it on that layer 1, and I'm just going to call that frame 1. So we know that that will become part of frame 1, and this background copy over here will become the background for frame 1. I'm going to just click off the visibility over there, go down to background copy, and to get started I am just going to go edit fill and use content aware. So I could use some of the detail around the image to fill those areas just to save some time. So I'm just going to go OK, and we can see what we get. It's not going to be perfect, of course it's far from perfect, but it saves me some time, and I'm going to deselect there. And then use your clone stamp tool to just start to cover those areas on the edges of my soccer player. So I can just delete it. Our player is going to be moving through the air, so that's why it's important that we kind of get rid of some of the stuff here. But I'll show you another little visual trick that I'm going to use to save time, just because we have got this sense of him moving through the air, and so we can really increase this white area over here, and in that way just help ourselves get onto the animation a little bit more quickly. And so I'll just be using the rubber stamp tool for now. I'll just speed up the video, and then I'll show you, we'll add in the white area over here just to save ourselves some time. That looks okay because I'm going to be covering up some of this with some white highlight. So I'm just going to call that frame 1 background, and then add another layer, and we're going to get our paintbrush, get white. I've got it quite big there, 1400 in size, and just start to add some spark of white there, because it's kind of like an explosive movement, so we can get away with this kind of whiting out. So a little bit bigger. There we go. I think that'll do, and then I'll just call that white. And there I have my player. So with my player 1 and my white background and my frame 1 background, I'm just going to select all of those and create a folder. Just clicking over there. I'm going to call that frame 1. Now I want my type to be a part of that frame. So if you want to change anything now, this is the time, so that once you have your layers, you don't want to be changing anything. So if you want to change any colors, I think I want that a little bit lighter, and go okay. So this will be consistent, your type will be consistent, so I'm just going to drag it into my frame 1, so it becomes a part of that. And then I still have my background, which we'll delete later. So I'd just like to save this now, so I'm going to save it as Park House Animation, and save. Great, so I have my frame 1 and I have my normal background. So I'm going to drag this, or let's have a look at where we want to be. So I want to be moving my player and my ball kind of from side to side. So if that's kind of like my center point, I'm just going to move my player across like that. And so he can move kind of backwards and forwards. And I think that's pretty good. Keep him there. And then I'm just going to copy this, and this will be frame 2. So everything will have a copy on it, but let's not worry too much about it. So this will be frame 2. So what I'm going to do is select my frame 1 and hold on Shift and just push my arrow key twice to the right. So I go 1, 2. And then I also want my background to move to the left. So I'm just going to press frame 1 background and then hold on Shift again, so it goes in 10 pixels instead of 1 pixel increments. I'm going to push my left hand, the arrow pointing to the left twice, so it goes 1, 2. There we go. So if I have a look at that, you can see what's happening there. So my player is going to keep moving to the right and my background is going to keep moving to the left. I'm going to be creating 18 frames here, so kind of like 10 going one way and then 8 going back, and it will make sense in a moment because we don't repeat the first frame and the 10th frame. Those get used. So we'll go duplicate that and we'll just continue like this, frame 3. So my player is moving to the right, so hold on Shift and it's going to go 1, 2 to the right, and my background is going to go 1, 2 to the left. And frame 4. And just call them by the correct names and it'll just save you time trying to work things out later. And 1, 2, 1, 2. We will be trimming the edges over here where you can see the image, the background image edge, and continue like this. Just repeating, renaming, moving your player to the right, 1, 2, and background to the left. And we'll continue like this until we have 10 frames. There we go, now we have 10 frames. So what we want to do is kind of go backwards now. So we've got our 10 frames like that. You can just check them quickly to make sure that you haven't left off any layers in movement. And now we want the player to move back to that starting point, and then we'll be looping it. So I'm not going to repeat frame 10, I'm going to repeat frame 9. So just drag it, the 9 copy, and drag it above 10. I'm going to copy frame 8 and drag it above frame 9, copy. Frame 7, copy that, drag it above frame 8, copy, and then frame 6, drag it right to the top, frame 5. So maybe it makes sense. Now, while we're not going to repeat frame 10 and frame 1 because they will be in the loop anyway. And our last one, frame 2. And there we go. Because we're going to be creating frames on our timeline from the layers, we're going to delete our background now. You might want to just save at this point, and maybe you can rename your frames and check that you have got 18. So I'm going to call this frame 11, frame 12, frame 13. You can of course add more frames if you like, less frames. You can make it a little bit more smooth by adding more frames and make it a little bit more jumpy depending on what you want to communicate in your animation. Okay, there we go. So we have 18 frames. Perfect. Yeah. And you can double check that it is moving as you want it to move. Moving backwards. Great. So let's just save that, and we'll do another save which will be merging these layers. I'm just going to delete my background. Go yes. And now we're going to do a save as. Let's just wait for that to save. Save as. And we're going to call that merge, because I'm going to be merging these layers, these groups into separate layers. So my frame 1, I want to create something on my timeline, and I will need separate layers, and I don't want all these layers within the folders. So with frame 1 selected, I'm just going to go Command E, and it will flatten and group everything in that frame, and just go through the frames. And it's another opportunity just to check that all your frames are going in the right direction. There we go. So having a look at the frames now, if you want to trim the edges, you can do that. So because our background layer has been moving backwards and forwards, you might want to have a look at where it ends up on frame 10 and trim edges if you need to. I'm just going to look at frame 1. So frame 1 is fine, frame 2, and this is where our background starts to move. There we go. So if you want to get rid of that, we're just going to trim it now. So go to your crop tool, crop that out, and crop this edge too. There we go. So this is a save as, so we've saved it as a merge, do a save. And we'll just go to frame 1 and look at where we're at. And then you're going to open up your timeline. Your timeline is, if it's not in your panel on the right, you can find it over here, Window, Timeline. And just open it up. I like to drag it out. So we want to create a frame animation. So if you just double click, it should open up. Let's just pull it completely out. There we go. Open up your layers. And there we go. So we get our first frame in our animation. I'm going to keep it on 0 seconds, but you can add delays to it. I like the 0 seconds for this kind of work where it is just a nice smooth animation. And then we want to use these layers for the rest of the animation. So you can make frames from layers, because we have all our layers here, just on the right hand panel from your timeline window. So make frames from layers, and it should create our 18 different frames. So we can just test that and push play. Something strange is happening to our last frame. Kind of looks quite cool, like there's a light bulb moment going there, but we can just delete that one. Pretty strange. I can't see where it is coming from in this in my frames, in my layers. If we just open that up, we can see what's happened is that for some reason it's sitting at 80%. So I'll just put that at 100%, and then we can test it again. So it looks pretty seamless, and once you're happy with your animation, we can press stop. Let's just save it over there, and then we're going to export it as our animated GIF. So go to File, Export, Save for Web Legacy, and you'll get a window that will open up, and you can see your image and create the correct settings. One more thing I wanted to mention is just getting it to the right size. So I did keep it as a high resolution, and that was just because it's easier for selecting the mask when you have a nice crisp image. But you may want to just lower the resolution if it's going to be sent via email. So I can see my image size is quite big there. I can make it smaller here, or I can make my original smaller. So let's just make it 1500. Make it a whole lot smaller. And we're going to be using a GIF. Just thinking about it. Just one moment. There we go. So I'm going to save it in the presets, GIF 128 vivid. You can leave that as is. Colors, I want to have 256. I can leave all that the same if you're happy with the size. And then the next thing to look at are your looping options. Have it on forever if you just wanted to loop once, but if you want to send an animated GIF via email, it's nice to have it looping forever so that when somebody looks at it, it's always moving. So we'll just go forever. If you want to see what it's going to look like on screen, we're going to go preview, bottom left, and it will show you what it will look like once online. Copy that. And go back to Photoshop, and then we're going to save that. And there we have, and we can call it Dark House Full Cup. And there you have your animated GIF. Save. Great. And then if you want to test it finally, we'll go into our browser, create a new window, and we can find our final. There it is, and just drag it into your window. Perfect, exactly what we wanted. So that's the end of the tutorial for today. Hopefully you've been inspired to create something exciting. I'd love to see your work. I'll give you the link for the iStock image that we used, and then in my exploration I did get a few free images through Unsplash, and I'll add those credits and the links to those photographs too if you want to just play around and create something for World Cup or anything really that inspires you. That's all from Dex for today. It's been wonderful sharing this time with you, and until next time, goodbye.